What's going on, everybody? Gentleman94 here. Welcome back to Sci-Fi Wednesdays. We are back with the Enterprise, and I'm so glad you guys can join us. So today, we are going to be starting immediately here on the pylons. We have a very specific geometric shape we want to try to achieve, and that's going to require 3 different colors and some masking to go ahead and cover up certain areas and expose other places here on the pylon. So first things first, we have our Tamiya tape, which we're going to go ahead and use thinly sliced so we can cover the necessary areas. First things, we're going to take one of our pieces of tape and put this right here. We're going to cover just the top of this raised panel line. We're going to go front to back on this pylon and grab one other one to repeat on the upper panel as well. So right across here, press that down, a little bit of burnishing. We're going to put a few more here, and let me show you what we come up with. So right here on the back, we're going to put one there, and right along the front as well, following the curve of that front vent. Now using my hobby knife, I'm just going to slice off the excess. We don't need any more tape here. So we're going to cut right on top of this line, just like that. Perfect. And we'll cut the bottom line as well, and then we're going to start covering everything up with blue tape. That's going to be for overspray, because I've had way too much overspray on this model as it is. So on the back of the Enterprise, I went ahead and did a little bit of work off camera, and I've created this really cool geometric pattern right here. Now we're going to be using some of the blue tape to go ahead and cover up for overspray, and I'll be using a Vallejo light gray for the paint in this area. We're going to be taking our blue tape, and we're going to be covering up all the areas around it using that Tamiya tape as our initial guideline. We don't want a lot of overspray here, guys, so I want to be really careful to cover it up with tape so I don't have to come back and do a ton more painting. This is a lot of masking and painting as it is, so I'd prefer not to do too much more. Now, let me talk about paint real quick. I'm planning on using my Vallejo light gray for this certain area, and for actually the areas that I masked off earlier for the pylons. The issue is I've been having a lot of trouble with Vallejo. Vallejo is not really one of my favorite types of paints. I prefer Tamiya, and I prefer Gunzi, especially the aqueous line of Gunzi paint. What I'm going to be trying today is, it's a bit radical. I read about it on a forum post, and I thought I wanted to try it out, because here's the deal. Vallejo is kind of finicky paint. Most of the time when I use rubbing alcohol or anything that has an alcohol base to it, it tends to distort the paint, gum it up, it makes it very difficult to spray, and then it doesn't go on very well. Also, it becomes very fragile as well, very easily damaged, even with a primer coat. So what I'm going to try to do today is I'm going to use Future Floor Polish to go ahead and mix up my paint to airbrush these pylons and to airbrush the back of the engineering hull. And the reason I'm using Future is because it's basically just a pigmentless acrylic base. And since Vallejo paint is an acrylic-based paint, they were saying that Future works exceedingly well to go ahead and thin out the paint to give it a nice, robust spray. So with our paint cup here, we're going to drop a little bit of Vallejo in here. Actually, a little bit more. There we are. We're going to thin it with Future Floor Polish, and we're going to use probably about a 2-to-1 ratio. So 2 parts thinner to 1 part paint. And we are then going to mix it up, and we are going to hope that this works. Now, the only drawback I can see currently is that we might create a bit of a glossy appearance to our paint, or maybe like a semi-gloss, which I'm okay with. Especially on this type of model, I'm okay with that. Because you know what? I'm not going to make this flat. I'm not going to make it super glossy. It's going to be more or less a bit of a satin finish. At least that's my plan of attack. So hopefully this will fit very, very well. So a little bit more Future here, and this is looking the part. I really like how this looks. The real test, though, is how it airbrushes. So let's go ahead and dump this into the iWater. We're going to turn up our PSI to about 25 to 30 PSI, and we're going to try to really see what this can do. We have a nice bit of our Vallejo paint in there with the Future as our thinner, and already I can tell the difference. The paint is going on very, very well. Nice and smooth. I'm not getting any weird clumps. I'm not getting any weird, spray patterns. My airbrush isn't gumming up. Everything looks to be really, really smooth. I may have found my thinner of choice, guys. This is very exciting. I don't know how it works with all Vallejo paints, but I know I'm going to go ahead and try it on the Model Air and see the different colors that I can achieve using Future as a base. Again, on the pylons, I want to go ahead and airbrush this whole area with this same mixture of Vallejo light gray. And this really, really is going on well. Now you may be asking yourself, why don't I just go out and buy a little can of Vallejo thinner? Well, the idea is that this hobby is expensive. we spend a lot of money on supplies. So if I can find an alternative method to thin out my paint so it still operates well, it still has a nice, good, strong finish, and it doesn't break the bank, I'm all for it. This is a really cool pattern. I really like how this looks. I think with all this tape off, we're going to be able to really get a good impression of how this looks. And again, it's kind of based off artistic license. It's not based off 100% film accurate, pictures or diagrams. It's just kind of what I feel. And this area does kind of have this impression anyway. So we're going to move on to the pylons, guys, and we're going to mask off the light gray and expose the vents that are going to be NATO black. I'm really excited about this. This should add a whole bunch of interest and a whole bunch more color to this area of the kit. We're going to have to come back, of course, and we're going to have to use our stencils, and we're going to have to hit a few of our Aztec markings. But again, I'm going to be really, really careful not to get a ton of overspray all over everything. I've got the nacelles masked off. I'm going to mask off the very front leading edge of this pylon, and then we're going to come back and we're going to airbrush that with NATO black. Again, just a little bit of paint here, and this time I did use isopropyl 70%, and this is Tamiya NATO black. So this is a nice, beautiful paint. It's not as stark as flat black, so I really like using it for parts that should be black. We're going to go ahead and do the other side as well. Now, each pylon has 4 vents, 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom. So we're going to repeat the same pattern for each of the vents and for both pylons. That should really add a beautiful, beautiful contrast of color from the NATO black to the light gray to the silver gray. I'm really excited to see how this is going to look. This is looking fantastic, guys. I love this. It's great contrast between the silver gray, the light gray, and the NATO black. Everything looks really, really cool. It adds a ton of interest to the model kit without being overwhelming, at least in my opinion. So we're going to go ahead and pull off all these pinstripe masks and see how this looks with all of these lines showing through. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I know these episodes are kind of short. I'm doing that on purpose because there's a lot of masking that goes on, and that can be kind of tedious and kind of boring to watch. So we're just going to stick with it, see what we can get done. Next episode, we're going to come back, get more detail painting done, really try and get this thing finished up. I think I might have a few more episodes to go, but we're really getting close. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you aren't subscribed. If you'd like to, hit that bell notification icon to go ahead and get updates to when I post videos. And I'm trying to post videos 2 to 3 times a week. So hopefully you guys are enjoying yourselves here on the channel. We'll see you back here next time on Sci-Fi Wednesdays, and hopefully we'll get that much closer to getting this enterprise done. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you soon.